No. 2. Nabal senseless. Stupid. A wealthy Maonite sheep owner who pastured and sheared his flocks in Carmel of Judah. Nabal was also known as a Calebite, that is, a descendant of Caleb. Few Bible characters are so contemptuously described as is Nabal. He was harsh and bad in his practices. He is too much of a good-for-nothing fellow son of Belial to speak to him. He repays evil in return for good. Senselessness is with him. 1 Sir 25. 2, 3, 17, 21, 25. David's men had protected Nabal's flocks of 3,000 sheep and 1,000 goats from marauding bands. After showing this kindness and not being guilty of any misappropriation, David requested Nabal to provide some material assistance for him and his men at shearing time, a traditional time of feasting and hospitality. But Nabal screamed rebukes at David's messengers and sent them away empty-handed. Nabal's own men feared David's reaction, but did not feel free to speak to Nabal about the matter. One of them, however, told Nabal's wife Abigail. As David approached, intending to slay Nabal, Abigail met him with generous gifts of food and drink and persuaded him not to become guilty of shedding her husband's blood. On her return home, she found Nabal as drunk as could be, so waited until the next morning to tell him of her encounter with David and how near death he had caused them all to come. Thereupon, Nabal's heart came to be dead inside him, and he himself became as a stone, perhaps indicating some type of paralysis or else referring to the effect on Nabal's inner emotions. Compare to 28. 28. PS 102. 4. 143. 4. About 10 days later Nabal was struck dead by Jehovah. 1 Sir 25. 2-38 David then took the sensible and courageous Abigail as his wife. 1 Sir 25. 39-42. 27. 3. 30. 5. 2 Sir 2. 2. 3. 3. Nabonidus nab middle dot o middle dot enidas from Babylonian meaning Nebo, the Babylonian god is exalted. Last supreme monarch of the Babylonian Empire. Father of Belshazzar. On the basis of cuneiform texts he is believed to have ruled some 17 years 556-539 BCE. He was given to literature, art, and religion. In his own inscriptions Nabonidus claims to be of noble descent. A tablet found near ancient Haran gives evidence that Nabonidus' mother or grandmother was a devotee of the moon god Sin. Ancient Near Eastern Texts, edited by J. Pritchard, 1974, pages 311, 312. As king, Nabonidus showed great devotion to the worship of the moon god, both at Haran and at Ur, where this god occupied a dominant position. Picture, Volume 2, p. 324. Cuneiform tablets of the 8th year of Nebuchadnezzar and 617 and 616 BCE list a certain Nabonidus as the one who is over the city, and some historians believe this is the same Nabonidus who later became king. However, this would mean that Nabonidus was a very young man when placed in such administrative position and would make him extremely otextoi acute miritra longo. Nabonidus 458 Biblical fact that Nebuchadnezzar is referred to as the father of Nabonidus' son Belshazzar. 5. 11, 18, 22, the term father at times having the meaning of grandfather or ancestor. This view would make Belshazzar a grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. See, however, Belshazzar. Nabonidus' ascension to the throne followed the assassination of Labashimarduk. Yet, the fact that in one of his inscriptions Nabonidus refers to himself as the mighty delegate of Nebuchadnezzar and Neriglissar indicates that he claimed that he gained the throne by legitimate means and was not a usurper. In a number of prisms Nabonidus associates his firstborn son, Belshazzar, with himself in his prayers to the moon god. Documents from Old Testament times, edited by D. W. Thomas, 1962, p. 73. An inscription shows that in his third year, prior to going out on the campaign that resulted in the conquest of Temur in Arabia, Nabonidus appointed Belshazzar to kingship in Babylon. The same text indicates that Nabonidus offended the people of his empire by concentrating worship on the moon god and by failing to be in Babylon to celebrate the New Year's festival. The document known as the Nabonidus Chronicle states that in the 7th, 9th, 10th, and 11th years of his reign Nabonidus was in the city of Timur, and in each case the statement is made. The king did not come to Babylon for the ceremonies of the month of Nisanu. The image of the god Nebo did not come to Babylon, the image of the god Bel did not go out of Esagila in procession, the festival of the new year was omitted. Ancient Near Eastern texts, p. 306. Due to the mutilated condition of the text, the record of the other years is incomplete. Of the oasis city of Timur it is elsewhere recorded. He made the town beautiful, built there his palace like the palace in Su-Middle and Middle Nar Babylon. Ancient Near Eastern texts, p. 313. Nabonidus appears to have established his royal residence in Timur, and other texts show that camel caravans carried provisions there from Babylonia. While not relinquishing his position as king of the empire, Nabonidus entrusted the administration of the government of Babylon to Belshazzar. Since Timur was a junction city on the ancient caravan routes along which gold and spices were transported through Arabia, Nabonidus' interest in it may have been motivated by economic reasons or may have been based on factors of military strategy. The suggestion is also advanced that he considered it politically advisable to administer Babylonian affairs through his son. Other factors, such as the healthful climate of Timur and the prominence of moon worship in Arabia, have likewise been noted as possible motives for Nabonidus' apparent preference for Timur. There is no available information as to Nabonidus' activities between his 12th year and his final year. Anticipating aggression from the Medes and Persians under Cyrus the Great, Nabonidus had entered into an alliance with the Lydian Empire and Egypt. The Nabonidus Chronicle shows Nabonidus back in Babylon in the year of the Medo-Persian assault, with the New Year's festival being celebrated and the various gods of Babylonia being brought into the city. Regarding Cyrus' advance, the Chronicle states that, following a victory at Apiz, he captured Sippar c. 60 kilometers 37 mi of Babylon and Nabonidus fled. Then follows the account of the Medo-Persian conquest of Babylon, and it is stated that upon Nabonidus' return there he was taken prisoner. Ancient Near Eastern texts, p. 306. The writings of Berosus, Babylonian priest of the 3rd century BCE, relate that Nabonidus had gone out to engage Cyrus' forces in battle but was defeated. They further tell that Nabonidus took refuge in Borsippa SSW of Babylon and that, after Babylon fell, Nabonidus surrendered to Cyrus and was thereafter deported to Comania in southern Persia. This account would coincide with the biblical record O Textui Acute Muritra Longo. Nabonidus 459 primarily depicts the main events of the reign of Nabonidus, the last supreme monarch of Babylon, including a terse account of the fall of Babylon to the troops of Cyrus. Though it was no doubt originally from Babylon and written in Babylonian cuneiform script, scholars who have examined its script style say it may date from some time in the Seleucid period 312-65 BCE, hence 2 centuries or more after Nabonidus' day. It is considered almost certainly to be a copy of an earlier document. The tone of this chronicle so strongly glorifies Cyrus, while presenting Nabonidus in a disparaging way, that it is thought to have been the work of a Persian scribe, and in fact, it has been referred to as Persian propaganda. However, while such may be the case, historians feel that a circumstantial date it contains is nonetheless reliable. In spite of the brevity of the Nabonidus Chronicle, the tablet measures about 14 centimeters 5.5 inches in breadth at the widest point and about the same in length. It remains the most complete cuneiform record of the fall of Babylon available. In the third of its 4 columns, beginning with line 5, pertinent sections read: 17th year. In the month of Tashretu, when Cyrus attacked the army of Akkad and Abiz on the Tigris, the inhabitants of Akkad revolted, but he Nabonidus massacred the confused inhabitants. The 14th day, Sippar was seized without battle. Nabonidus fled. The 16th day, Gobryasugbaru, the governor of Gutium, and the army of Cyrus entered Babylon without battle. Afterwards Nabonidus was arrested in Babylon when he returned there. In the month of Arishamnu, the 3rd day, Cyrus entered Babylon. Green twigs were spread in front of him. The state of peace, Sawm, was imposed upon the city. Ancient Near Eastern texts, p. 306. It may be noted that the phrase 17th year does not appear on the tablet, that portion of the text being damaged. This phrase is inserted by the translators, because they believed that Nabonidus' 17th regnal year was his last. So they assumed that the fall of Babylon came in that year of his reign and that, if the tablet were not damaged, those words would appear in the space now damaged. Even if Nabonidus' reign was of greater length than is generally supposed, this would not change the accepted date of 539 BCE as the year of Babylon's fall, for there are other sources pointing to that year. This factor, however, does lessen to some extent the value of the Nabonidus chronicle. While the year is missing, the month and day of the city's fall, nevertheless, are on the remaining text. Using these, secular chronologers calculate the 16th day of Tishri as falling on October the 11th, Julian calendar, and October the 5th, Gregorian calendar, in the year 539 BCE. Since this date is an accepted one, there being no evidence to the contrary, it is usable as a pivotal date in coordinating secular history with Bible history. See chronology. Interestingly, the Chronicle says concerning the night of Babylon's fall, the army of Cyrus entered Babylon without battle. This likely means without a general conflict and agrees with the prophecy of Jeremiah that the mighty men of Babylon would cease to fight. Jer 51:30. Also of interest are the evident references to Belshazzar in the Chronicle. Although Belshazzar is not specifically named, in the light of later portions of the Chronicle Col. 2, lines 5, 10, 19, 23, column 1, line 8, is construed by Sidney Smith, in his Babylonian historical texts. Relating to the capture and downfall of Babylon, London, 1924, p. 100, as showing that Nabonidus entrusted kingship to Belshazzar, making him co-regent. Repeatedly the Chronicle states that the crown prince was in Akkad, Babylonia, while Nabonidus himself was at Temur in Arabia. However, the fact that Belshazzar is not mentioned by name nor is his death referred to in the Nabonidus Chronicle o textoi acute miritra longo, Naboth 460 narrated in chapter 5. Quite to the contrary, cuneiform experts admit that the Nabonidus Chronicle is extremely brief, and in addition, as shown above, they are of the opinion that it was written to defame Nabonidus, not to give a detailed history. Indeed, as R.P. Dufferty says in his work Nabonidus and Belshazzar p. 200. The scriptural account may be interpreted as excelling because it employs the name Belshazzar. Italics hours. Although column 4 of the Chronicle is badly broken, scholars have concluded from what remains that the subject was a later siege of Babylon, which has been taken over by some usurper. The first such siege of Babylon that followed Cyrus is thought to have been during the uprising of Nebuchadnezzar III, or Nidin-Tubal, who claimed to be a son of Nabonidus. He was defeated in the accession year of Darius in 522 BCE. Naboth, a Jezreelite vineyard owner and victim of a wicked plot by Queen Jezebel. Naboth's vineyard in Jezreel was within sight of King Ahab's palace. Naboth declined Ahab's offer to buy the vineyard or to exchange it for a better vineyard somewhere else, because Jehovah had prohibited sale in perpetuity of a family inheritance. 1 Kai 21. 1-4. 25. 23-28 Ahab's wife Queen Jezebel, however, schemed to have two witnesses falsely accuse Naboth of blaspheming God and the king. Thereby Naboth and his sons were put to death. 2 Kai 9. 26, enabling Ahab to take possession of the vineyard. Because of this murder, Elijah foretold that the dogs not only would eat up Jezebel, but would also lick up Ahab's blood in the same place they licked up Naboth's blood. Ahab's offspring would similarly be cut off. 1 Kai 21. 5-23 This divine pronouncement was carried out. 1 Kai 22. 34, 38. 2 Kai 9. 21, 24-26, 35, 36. 10. 1-11. Nikon possibly, firmly established. According to 2 Samuel 6. 6. The name of the threshing floor where Uzzah died for grabbing hold of the Ark of the Covenant. The parallel account at 1 Chronicles 13. 9 says Chidon, probably indicating that one writer mentioned the name of the place, the other that of its owner, or that one name is an altered form of the other. Nadab willing. Noble. Generous. 1. The firstborn son of Aaron and Elisheba. X 6. 23. 1 ch. 6. 3 Nadab was born in Egypt and made the great exodus with Israel. He with his next younger brother Abihu and 70 other Israelites were called with Aaron and Moses up into Sinai, where they saw a vision of Jehovah. Acts 24. 1, 9-11 Nadab and his 3 brothers were all installed into the priesthood with their father. Acts 28. 1. 40. 12-16 Evidently before the day was over, Nadab and Abihu abused their office by offering illegitimate fire. Just what made the fire illegitimate is not stated, but it was probably more than just getting intoxicated suggested by the immediate prohibition to priests not to drink wine or intoxicating liquor when on duty. However, intoxication may have contributed to their wrongdoing. For their transgression, they were killed by fire from Jehovah and their bodies were disposed of outside the camp. La 10. 1-11. New 26. 60, 61 Nadab and Abihu died before they had fathered any sons, leaving their brothers Eleazar and Ithamar to found the 2 priestly houses. New 3. 2, 4. 1 ch. 24. 1, 2. 2. A descendant of Judah in the line of Jerahmeel, son of Shemaiah and father to Seldon Lapam. 1 ch. 2. 3, 25, 26, 28, 30. 3. A son of Jael of the tribe of Benjamin. 1 ch. 8. 1, 29, 30. 9. 35, 36. 4. Son of Jeroboam and second king of the northern 10-tribe kingdom of Israel. Nadab ruled for parts of 2 years, starting in about 976 BCE, during which he continued the calf worship instituted by his father. While besieging Gibbethon, a former Levite city, Joz 21. 23 taken over by the Philistines, Nadab was assassinated by Baasha, who then killed off all remaining members of Jeroboam's house in order to secure the throne for Otextoi Acute Miritra Longo. Nabi 461 Nahalol Naha Middle. Lol watering place. Pasture. Alternate name for Nahalol, a city in Zebulun. JG 1. 30. Naham Comfort. Brother-in-law of Hodiah, a descendant of Judah. 1 ch. 4. 1, 19. Nahamani na middle. Ham a middle. Na from a root meaning comfort. One who returned with Zerubbabel from Babylonian exile. Ne 7. 6, 7. Naharai naha middle. Rai. A Beerotite and one of Joab's armor bearers. Naharai was among the mighty men of David's military forces. 2 23. 24, 37. 1 ch. 11. 26, 39. Nahash serpent. 1. King of the Ammonites at the time Saul began his reign. Nahash brought his army against Jabesh in Gilead. The account reads: At that all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, Conclude a covenant with us that we may serve you. Then Nahash the Ammonite said to them, On this condition I shall conclude it with you, on the condition of boring out every right eye of yours, and I must put it as a reproach upon all Israel. In turn the older men of Jabesh said to him, Give us 7 days' time, and we will send messengers into all the territory of Israel, and, if there is no savior of us, we must then go out to you. Israel rallied around Saul, went to Jabesh, and defeated Nahash. Only a few of Nahash's army escaped alive. 1 11. 1-11. 12. 11, 12. In a Dead Sea Scroll, designated for Summer and believed to be from the 1st century BCE, the following information is inserted just before 1 Samuel 11. 1. Nahash, king of the children of Ammon, sorely oppressed the children of Gad and the children of Reuben, and he gouged out their right eyes, and struck terror and dread in Israel. There was not left one among the children of Israel beyond the Jordan whose right eye was not put out by Nahash king of the children of Ammon. Except that 7,000 men fled from the children of Ammon and entered Jabesh Gilead. About a month later. Bible Review, 1985, Volume 1, No. 3, p. 28. Basically the same information is given by Josephus. Jewish Antiquities, 6, 68-70 v. 1. According to Josephus' Jewish Antiquities, 6, 79 v. 3, this Nahash was killed in the battle by Saul's forces. If Josephus' information is correct, then the Nahash that extended kindness to David some years later must have been a son and successor to the Nahash defeated by Saul. In such a case, the name Nahash may have been a title bestowed on a series of persons, like the titles Abimelech, Pharaoh, and Jabin. When this second named Nahash died, David sent ambassadors to his son Nun, who misunderstood David's honorable intentions and greatly humiliated his representatives. This, in turn, triggered a series of developments that eventually left the Ammonites defeated at the hands of David. 2 Sa 10. 1-5. 11. 1. 12. 26-31. 1 Ch 19. 1-5. 20. 1-3. 2. The father of David's sister or half-sister Abigail, and possibly the father of Zeruiah. He was the grandfather of Amasa, and perhaps also of Abishai, Asahel, and Joab. 2 Sa 17. 25. 1 Ch 2. 16, 17. Abigail is called the daughter of Nahash, but she and her sister are not directly called the daughters of Jesse, David's father, though they are referred to as the sisters of Jesse's sons, including David. This leaves several possible relationships. 1. That Nahash was a woman, Jesse's wife and the mother of all involved. The name could be given to either sex, but this is not very likely because women were usually introduced into a genealogy only for special reasons, which here seem to be missing. 2. That Nahash was another name for Jesse, as is suggested by early Jewish tradition. The Greek Septuagint Lagardian edition has Jesse instead of Nahash in 2 Samuel 17. 25. 3. That Nahash was a former husband of Jesse's wife, a more likely suggestion, and that she bore Nahash 2 daughters, Abigail and Zeruiah, before marrying Jesse and bearing him several boys. See Abigail no. 2. 3. A resident of the Ammonite city of Rabbah. His O textoi acute miritra longo, Nahor 462 Nahor. 1. Father of Terah and grandfather of Abraham. Nahor was a son of Serug and descendant of Shem. He lived 148 years 2177 to 2029 BCE. GE 11. 22-26. 1 Ch 1. 24-27. Lu 3. 34-36. 2. Son of Terah. Grandson of Nahor number 1. And brother of Abraham. GE 11. 26. Jos 24. 2. Nahor married Milcah, Lot's sister and the daughter of Nahor's other brother, Haran, hence Nahor's niece. By her he had 8 sons, and by his concubine Rumah he had 4 more sons, totaling 12, some of whom became tribal heads. GE 11. 27, 29. 22. 20-24 Through his son Bethuel, Nahor became grandfather to Laban and Rebekah, and great-grandfather of Leah, Rachel, Jacob, Israel, and Esau. GE 24. 15, 24, 47. 29. 5, 16. 1 Ch 1. 34. The Genesis account of Terah and Abraham leaving Ur of the Chaldeans does not include Nahor's name.